Although good things come to those who wait, in some video games, the payoff to being patient can be, unfortunately, wholly disappointing. The game will present you with a secret or a special message for investing time and effort into uncovering it, but it'll either be something underwhelming or it'll make fun of you for finding it. If you don't want to invest precious minutes and hours finding something that will feel like a slap in the face, then the following list will tell you everything you need to know without any of that extra effort on your part. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are 10 video game secrets that literally wasted your time.
Oi, you! What are you buying? What are you selling? Well, I'm so pleased you asked, because if you want to stay safe online and browse freely, NordVPN is running an unbelievable deal at the minute that gets you up to 76% off subscriptions and 3 months free. Just scan the QR code in this video or click the link in the description below, and it's all yours.
Special training, High on Life. High on Life is an FPS that takes absolutely every opportunity it possibly can to troll its players, and this of course affects Easter eggs as well, where there's one in particular that takes an unnecessarily long amount of time to unlock, and as you can guess from the name of this list, it's not worth it. Specifically, it takes an hour to unlock, give or take. Now, during the mission to hunt down Douglas, the player needs to infiltrate the alien secret training facility. You enter the complex through a theater room where Douglas gives an introductory video to his new recruits. With plenty of jabs and insults, he tells you you need to prove your resolve before you can move on to the next training area, and you'll do this by waiting for a full hour. Since no one actually wants to spend that much time doing nothing, the game immediately gives you a new objective to enter the complex via event. However, as you may have imagined, the devs did include a secret for those who decided to wait. Sort of. If you stick inside the room anyway, every 15 minutes Douglas will make a comment about it. For this reason, you might assume that waiting does cause the main entrance to open. And yes, after an hour passes, Douglas congratulates you and the entrance does open. But before you can get it, it breaks, and you're forced to use the vents anyway. Well, I hope the satisfaction of doing it was its own reward. Execute Order 66, Star Wars Fallen Order. Star Wars The Fallen Order starts with a dream sequence in which our protagonist Cal is inside a train. Early on, there's a neat little trick that the game does to make the dream feel as trippy as possible. When you try to move to the next wagon, the door won't open if you interact with it. This is meant to make the player give up and turn around, revealing the wagon you came from has suddenly been transformed into what is very clearly a corridor on an Imperial ship. However, if you, and oh my gosh, I'm remembering now I did this, are as stubborn as a mule, you don't have to turn around and just keep interacting with the door. In fact, after a few minutes of the same repetitive action, your seemingly worthless act of rebellion will yield an effect, albeit a very underwhelming one. As you click the door for the 66th time, you'll be rewarded with the voice of Darth Sidious saying that iconic line, "Execute Order 66." On its own, it's a fun Easter egg, but considering the minutes of clicking you have to invest to get it, it's hard not to ask if making the number match with the order was necessarily worth it. Toriel's phone calls, Undertale. Undertale is filled with moments that prank you and make fun of you. In fact, even the intro has a hidden Easter egg designed to troll people who are too patient for their own good. In the first stage, Toriel, Undertale's beloved goat mom, escorts your character through the underground, protecting you from potential dangers. At some point, she leaves you behind in a hallway and tells you to wait for her as she's going home to prepare you a surprise. This said, Toriel isn't coming back. After a few minutes of waiting, most players will realize that and then finally move further on their own, just as the game intended. But if you decide to wait anyway, the game will actually present you with a secret. Every 5 minutes, Toriel will call your character to check up on you. She'll call and ask what your favorite cake is, and then tell you that a dog stole her ingredients which she is definitely not using to bake you a surprise cake. To hear the entire dialogue, you need to spend almost an hour standing in the hallway, and while it is funny, if you're expecting a bigger payoff than that, you're gonna be disappointed. Modder's Room, Left 4 Dead 2. When Left 4 Dead 2 released its collection of maps from the original Left 4 Dead, the recreations were actually made by the game's modding community. Because of that, there is a secret Easter egg that references the modders that even comes with a reward. The only problem with this reward is that it takes an abysmally long amount of time to find. On the map The Last Stand, there's a small shed with a set of metal doors up front. While the doors aren't interactable and look more like a background asset, they can secretly be destroyed to access a hidden area. But it will take you a good 10 or so minutes of swinging at them. Your reward for giving yourself carpal tunnel is a developer's room that can provide you with a golden crowbar if you interact with the keyboard next to the computer in the back. The weapon is definitely neat, but there's an argument to be made that maybe it should not have abused the player's clicking finger in order to get it. Dedicated Liquor, Saints Row 4, How the Saints Saved Christmas. Saints Row 4's DLC, How the Saints Saved Christmas, tells an over-the-top tale about everyone's favorite purple gang taking a visit to Santa's workshop. The DLC is full of tongue-in-cheek humor that you'd expect out of Saints Row, but if you want to see a certain Easter egg, the tongue will need to leave the cheek and go right for a certain holiday treat. That is actually not a weird innuendo I'm making, but the solution to one of Saints Row's most tedious secrets. When you visit the North Pole for the first time, the entrance to Santa's workshop will be blocked by a giant candy cane. The game will instruct you to enter via the stables, or try to lick your way through the treat. The latter option sounds funnier, but when you attempt it, you'll notice that the candy meter next to the objective doesn't move, so a lot of players will give up after a minute, thinking it's impossible to lick through the candy. However, it actually does work. It just takes, and boy do we have a trend of this at this point in this list, a whopping 10 minutes to get the job done. Your reward for pressing the button that many times is the game calling you crazy while you do it, and then unlocking a shortcut that takes more time than the stable option, but without all the fun action. Turbo Turkey Puncher, Doom 3. Doom 3's ensemble of enemies that you'll be pointing your weapons at is pretty much summed up by demons, and even more demons. That said, there are also turkeys that you can take on, but doing so is about as fun and productive as it sounds. Less so, if that sounded really fun. On the space station map, there's a recreational area with a working arcade machine called Turbo Turkey Puncher 3. As the name implies, the game is about punching cartoon turkeys until they explode. The entertainment value of the game is abysmal, but if you don't mind pressing the same button for almost 10 minutes, yes, 10 minutes again, and watching a turkey slowly fall onto the screen so you can punch it again, you can discover a secret Easter egg. By beating the game's high score of 25,000 points, around 70 turkeys if your timing is right, when you check the work email on one of the computers, you'll see a message from the HR coordinator congratulating you for being so good at wasting time and docking 2 days off your vacation time. You do get an achievement, which is pretty good and for a lot of people worth it, but the hurtful email may continue to sting, and that's okay. The End's End, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. One of the more memorable fights in Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater is with The End, an old sniper legend who comes out of retirement just to kick Snake's ass. The duel is a fun mix of sneaking and tracking your hunter, but if that kind of action doesn't sound fun to you, you can secretly skip it by, well, not playing the game. If you save and quit Snake Eater after beginning the fight and then don't play it for around 2 weeks, when you do log back in, you'll find that the End has died of old age. You get to watch a special cutscene where Snake sneaks up on the old man only for him to drop dead on the ground. Afterwards, you'll be able to progress through the game without having to fight him. On the plus side, you skip the tough boss fight, and on the not-so-plus side, one, you miss playing the boss fight if it sounded like a good time, and also, you have to spend 2 weeks not playing Snake Eater. Not to mention the fact that the game will insult you for denying the old veteran his one last chance to prove himself in combat, so you kinda do really have to ask yourself if the wait is worth it. A literal Easter egg, Futurama the game. Futurama the game is easily number 1 on this list when it comes to the amount of complexity and effort that it takes to find its Easter egg. The process is actually so long and nonsensical, it took almost 2 decades for someone to find it. The secret in question is hidden in an early stage on the Planet Express map. To find it, you have to first enter and leave the boiler room after opening Leela's locker, but without opening any other locker inside. Then you have to destroy the fire extinguisher window in the main hallway, open the wire drawer near the reanimator, get exactly 7 cash collectibles, and then finally break the TV in the conference room. At this point, you might be wondering what awesome secret could be hidden behind all of that busy work, particularly if you've just spent hours experimenting with random and completely disconnected tasks to get it done. Here's the kicker though, it's an Easter egg, like an actual floating Easter egg. So that's either something you'll be very excited and impressed by, or something to cause grave and serious disappointment. Korak Machete, Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 is yet another example of a secret reward that takes way too much time and effort for being something that is absolutely useless to the player. In the first Dying Light, one of the best weapons you could unlock was the Korak Machete. The blade here was hidden inside a seemingly impenetrable lockbox, and the only way in was to hit it over and over again with a melee weapon. You're talking like a couple minutes, and then you'd be able to get your hands on it. The Korak Machete makes a reappearance in the sequel, and while it requires a similarly convoluted and time-wasting effort, the payoff is not as good as you'd expect. To get the machete, you have to do the challenge A Day in Haran, in which you find a suspiciously durable breaker box on one of the rooftops. Following what you learned from the first game, you can bash the box for several minutes without stopping until it eventually opens, providing you with blueprints for the Korak Machete. Or rather, it is the Korak Machete V3, and the problem with version 3 is that it deals exactly 1 damage. You can tell the developers just decided they'd troll fans of the first game here. Why? I don't know, but they did. Bird Frenzy, Hitman 2. The new Hitman games have a ton of fun Easter eggs on pretty much every single map. However, fun is the last word you'd use to describe the secret in the mission The Last Yardbird. The Last Yardbird is a sniper mission in which you need to take out targets within a time limit. However, there are several other hidden objects on the map that you can shoot to complete challenges. One of them is the map's bird population, which secretly unlocks an Easter egg, if you can shoot down 3 of the flying hawks. Not only are these hawks extremely hard to shoot due to being, well, hawks, fast and erratic moving birds, but the mission's time limit is also extremely short. Given you also have to shoot 10 pigeons within the same time limit that you're trying to take out these extremely quick moving hawks, it's almost certain you'll miss 1 or 2 birds and find that you're doing this one over and over and over again for hours until you're able to actually pull it off, unless you just want to call it a day. You would think, though, if you do decide to keep at it, that such a difficult task would unlock something amazing, but all it does is spawn a giant duck that floats by in the background. Which could have been fun if it wasn't for the fact that the exact same duck can be spawned on a different map without all that unnecessary effort. That's it for our list. Let me know if you unlocked any of these secrets down in that comment box. And if you just need more secrets in your day, little video game bits and pieces, don't worry, we've got you covered with plenty more lists. In fact, why don't you watch one about secrets that are actually good if you need a palate cleanser from these ones? Do let me know down in the comments what you reckon about this list, and I will catch you again soon.